Hello Simmers, I hope you're having a great day and welcome to my first ever tutorial on Blender and Sims 4 Studio if you want to create new custom content or modify the custom content you have in your game for Sims 4. So I'm gonna show you a few versions of Blender that I have installed on my computer. All of them are portable and I will explain what portable Blender is. So first one is Blender 2.7, second is Blender 2.79, and the last one is Blender 2.82. So this one I use the most because it's very comfortable and it has a lot of good options that I need. So I would highly recommend you this version of Blender. I mostly do all of my things right now in this one. And I also mentioned it as a default program for me. This one is recommended by Sims 4 Studio as far as I know. They also mentioned Blender 2.76, but I don't want to confuse you. I just want to recommend you to have this one with in your computer and this one too. And then you will decide which one is better for you. So to start working with Blender, we need to download it and download Sims 4 Studio to work with Sims 4 content. For this, we're going to this site, sims4studio.com, and we're going to download and install Sims 4 Studio. We can download Sims 4 Studio for Windows and for Mac. So I'm going to show you how Studio for Windows look like, because right now I have Windows. So this is how it looks like. You can download installer or you can download zip file, which is probably a portable version of Studio, but I downloaded installer myself personally. Whichever is fine and they will both work perfectly. And here you have an additional note about Blender that you need to use to create custom content. And as I mentioned, they proposed 2.7 or 2.76. You can download Blender from this site, but what I would recommend you if you want the version of Blender that I installed, or you want some kind of different Blender, for example, not portable Blender or any version that you like, you go to blender.org. Here we go. The current version is this one, 2.90.1, but we don't need this version right now. We need to download a previous versions of the Blender. And here it is, Blender 2.7. And if you go here, you can see a bunch of, well, Blender's 2.79. And I have this one. So you can go ahead and download it. It will be a zip file. I mean, this one will be portable version, while this one will be installing on your computer, and then if you install one of them, you can only have one version of it installed, and then the rest of them will be portable. You can go ahead and install Sims 4 Studio and just have a look at it. Mine is already installed, so I will open it and show you what you need to do. You need to write your creator's name down here, and you need to go to settings. First of all, you need to link your game folder where you installed the game. Next, you want to link the Sims 4 folder in Electronic Arts document path. And then, last but not least, you need to unzip all your files in the folder where you want your Blender to be. For example, in documents or on desktop, wherever you want it to be. And once you unzip it, you're gonna browse and show the path to your Blender Excel file. After this, go ahead and save your parameters. It is very important and crucial. and your studio will work now as it should be. In Studio, you can start different projects, for example, animation, where you can override the existing game animations or create a new one. Next one is a build option where you can create a build objects or modify existing objects. Objects in a buy mode and cast mode where you can create a different cast items, clothing, hair, accessories, anything that your sim can wear in cast. Depending on which project you chose, the studio will create a package that you can put in your modes folder and it will appear in your game. I want to show you how to create a post pack, and you need to press animation and save it with your name. And there you go. You open the package in the studio and you can see that this is the post pack and you can change the name here, but we need to go to clips to export a rig. Well, this is the bottom export. We can export different type of rigs: female, male, child, toddler, puppy, small dog, large dog, kitten, cat, and mermaid and merman. I chose the rig because it has various manipulation options and probably the easiest one to work with. So I will export adult male rig and name it accordingly, but you can name it as you like. So, and save it. After we exported a rig and saved it, let's go ahead and look what Blender looks like inside before we open the rig in Blender. This is how Blender looks like. So we have a 3D space and we have red for X, green for Y, and the blue for Z. To move around in Blender, you need to press down your scroll button and move your mouse around. That way you can move your platform or grid so you can see from different angles. To move away from object, you need to press Shift and scroll button and move to the left, to the right, oopsie, down and up. So now let's talk about the view. Right now you can see that it's just a random angle and a random view of the object that we have here. This is a default cube object. It appears whenever you open Blender for no reason, or maybe for a good reason. So if we go to this option view, you can see a different view options and you can see that they're controlled by a numpad. If you don't have a numpad, don't worry. You can go to User Preferences, File, User Preferences, and Input, and then you press Emulate Numpad so that your numbers on your keyboard will work exactly like it would work with your numpad. Uh, for me, it's more comfortable to use the numbers on my keyboard than on the right numpad of my laptop. So I prefer this a lot. And then you go ahead and save user settings. Now I want to open the rig and show you how it really works because cube is not exactly the object that you can see a lot. And wanted you to I just wanted to show what can you do to move around in Blender. And now we're gonna open the rig. I'm gonna close this Blender because if I open the rig right now, the lighting will not be perfect because the rig has its own lamps and the lamps will not append with the rig if I append it right now. So I will just open as I exported my rig. There it is, our adult male rig. One more thing I didn't tell you. If you scroll up and scroll down, you can zoom in and zoom out the object. So now I will show you how the numbers work in a Blender or a different viewpoints. So for example, if you press 1, it will give you the front position. Right now Sim is in front position, the rig. And if you press 5, you will have a perfect view, which is this. And if you press 3, you will see this side of the sim. If you press Control 3, you will see the other side of the sim. You can rotate sim to the right and to the left by pressing 4 or 6. This is 4 and this is 6. By pressing 7, you can have the top view of the rig. By pressing 8, you can rotate your sims along the Z, I think. So, if you press 9, you can see the back of your sim. If you press 0, you get this. I don't know what it does, but we don't need it right now. Let's go back to 1 and 5. So this is how you move around in Blender. It doesn't matter if it's a rig or an object. You just need to use these hotkeys to get used to it and look at the objects and or 3D model or, for example, rig, like just I did. So right now you can see that we're in pose mode because we have a rig. The rig is not a simple 3D object, it is a model that has armature data and we can move it by manipulating it in the Blender, and that's how we pose this model and create a pose. I will talk about this later in another video, but right now it's not our problem. I just want to show you how to operate in Blender and how to use armature. Let's have a closer look here, and we have a lot of dots on the body. They're called bones. To select a bone, you simply need to click the right button of your mouse. And here we go. There is a name upper arm down here. And you see 3 arrows, blue, red, and green. It is one of the 3 types of 3D manipulations that you can do in Blender, and it's called location. The arrows are showing you the direction where you can move objects or bones in Blender, as well as the perspective that you chose. You can move one bone or as much as you want at a time, even the whole object, and this is how you do it. One way you can drag the bone along with your mouse, or you can press G and just move your mouse and it will follow the mouse by itself. Don't be afraid to move it because this is how you learn how to use this tool. If you want to undo, press Ctrl Z, and if you want to undo any action, you press Alt G. This is very useful tool actually. So next thing I want to show you is how to select multiple objects or multiple bones. One way to do it is by selecting one of the bones, like here, this bone is selected, pressing Shift and selecting any other bone that you want, and they will move together like this. Let's just appreciate this beautiful model. It looks amazing. Yes, almost like a mermaid when it does the mermaid sounds in the game. Beautiful. So now to unselect bones, if they're selected, you simply press A. And there you go, none of the bones are selected. So next thing I want to show you is how do you select bones by pressing C button. And you have a small circle or a big circle, you scroll it down, scroll it up, make it bigger, make it smaller. The circle will control the area that you want to select. For example, bigger circle will give you bigger areas. Smaller circles will just give you one bone. Or even small circle can like select all the face because bones are very, very close. Once you're done selecting with C, you press escape. And I didn't show you how to unselect bones with C. So let's go ahead, press C once again. And if you hold the um, scroll button on your mouse, then there you go. You can select everything like this. And press escape again to exit this mode. None of the bows are selected. Alright, let me show you how to select an area that is not a circle. You press B and then you can select like this. It is helpful if you want to, for example, select all the legs bones or bones below knee and then move them all together. Probably. Or when you're editing something, editing an object, for example, you just need to know how to select an area like this with B. Also, if you press the scroll button and then if you press B and then scroll button, then you can unselect the area. And it's done. One more thing. Okay, another way to select is by pressing A. By pressing A, you select all the bones in your rig, in your object, or maybe even every single object. It means select all, I guess. Or you can unselect by pressing A2, as I mentioned. So this is how it works. And now let's go ahead and see the next manipulation tool, which is rotation. And this was the location. This is a rotation. When you select a bone, it's slightly different than arrows. You have a sphere with 3 different colors. They also show directions. And the perspective is the same. The perspective now is global, and I will show you another perspectives that you can use. But first, I want to show you how the tool works. Again, you can drag along with your mouse. Or this way, or any other way. So, to undo this, you press Ctrl Z, or to undo any rotation moves, you press Alt R, because R is the tool that you use for rotation. But unlike the G, it has 2 modes. You can press R one time, and you have 2 black dots following your mouse, and it moves only in one dimension. And then if you press R twice, you have green and red signs, and you can move it like so. So of course, if you use it, you want to like move it carefully and switch from one bone to another, not just going like crazy like that, like I'm doing like right right now. But you need to try again and get adjusted to the moves in the blender. So at first it will feel like you're doing something crazy and it will never work. But trust me, go slower, try another bone, and eventually it will work out. So, yes, let's undo all these actions. And this is the rotation tool. What about perspective? So we have here different perspectives, and I've read about them in the Blender tutorial or Blender manual on the site. So for local perspective, it will just make your bone like a zero coordinates, so it will change the directions. For example, this is right now is Z, this one is X, and this one is Y, because your bone is not in the center, it's just it's positioned differently. So it will start the local perspective of your bone, and it will allow you to move your bone um, according to its position. So it's very convenient to use it, because as you can see, the rotation goes here more naturally than in global mode. But sometimes you need a global mode not to do the pose, but to position your seam in the place you want him to be. Or for example, you need location a lot when you do expressions. You drag mouth, you drag cheeks, brows, and it's very convenient. You can't just do everything on your face with rotation tool. So those tools are better be used together. The last tool, manipulation tool that I was not talking about yet is scale. Unfortunately, you can't use scale for poses because it will simply not appear and will not work, but it's important for objects or for closes. For example, if you want to make an object bigger or smaller, it will increase or decrease the scale of the object. And to undo it, you press Alt S, Alt Scale, and Alt Rotation, because I don't need it right now. And I'll go back to the perspectives, because let's call it orientation. Okay, because like transform orientation, it's not a perspective actually, but an orientation. So we have normal. And also I read on Blender's manual that normal in some way is so similar to local that it will just make no difference unless you're, I think if you're in working with something else, not your rigs or sims, and the others, they don't have much of a use for you, but you can try and see. The view is from your viewpoint, it will move with you, but it's so inconvenient to use it in the pose mode or objects mode. It just moves along and changes constantly. The gimbal is like so. Does it make any difference from local? No, it's also does it it's similar to normal and local. They have a difference, but it's very slight. You can go to Blender manual and read about it, but all they say is just that The orientation is very confusing. I'm sorry, I didn't expect to talk about it so much, but trust me, you need global and local orientations. That's all you need. Let's go back to global and let's go back to our location. So, in this video, I think I've said a lot of things about Blender, how to start working with it. The only thing I haven't mentioned is how to save your progress, but I think I will do another video on poses and how to create them. I will also show how to use some techniques like inverse kinematic here. It means that one bone will drag along the number of bones that you selected along with it, and it will move by itself. I'll show you how this works in my next videos. I made this video specifically for beginners because I remember how hard it was to start working with Blender, and I wish there was a guide like this for me. So now I'm creating this for you, and here we are. Wait, the tutorial is not over because there is one more thing that I wanted to show you in the rig, and I've never seen it in any other videos. It was so frustrating. I literally spent hours, maybe days, to figure out how to create my pose because I didn't know this. There are some special bones that are hiding under each other. And you simply need to click 2 times or 3 times or as much times as you need to activate the bone behind it. For example, as you can see, this bone is forearm bone, and it's not even, you can barely see that it's activated, like slightly blue. If you press it second time, it's an elbow. They are completely different bones, and one of them helps you to move your arm, and the second one helps you to move your elbow if you need it. So this is the first one and the easiest one. I'll show you another bones that are hiding, and they're right here. Upper mouse area and lower mouse area. Boy oh boy, it was so difficult to find them. But the most frustrating thing, the thing that made me look for this bone for like 2 days, and I'm not even joking. I was searching everywhere how to do it until I asked my friend, hey, how do you close the eyelids for your sim? And he said, just press the eye. Yes. And I pressed the eye and it just doesn't move. Like it doesn't move the eyelid, it moves the eye. So what you want to do is read here, cusp left eye area. It will move the area. Now it will move the scale. So it's not brow, it's just your eye. And then next, low lid. Finally, the lid is moving. So you press many times, and all the time you read the name of this the name of this bone. Oh my god, what is happening? You read the name of the bone. You read the name of this bone, and you click scale, low lid, up lid, and left eye, and that's all the bones that you have here. Guys, I know, like, if you're not a beginner, it's obvious. But if you never opened Blender and never worked with the rig, it's so frustrating and you waste so much time. If you never used any 3D armature and you know that the bone is there but you don't know how to use it, just have to find it yourself. So I hope this was helpful. Uh, Also, there's like these two bones, but they're close to each other, but not exactly in the same place. It's spine and pelvis. So I'm looking if I missed anything. This is a very interesting bone. It doesn't move anything specifically, but if you're creating a pose with accessory, then there is a lot of things that you can do with it. So let me know if you want to know about it, and I will include this in next video. In my plans, I have a pose tutorial, accessories tutorial, object editing tutorial, and also a tool mode tutorial, but it's up to you to choose which will be the next video that I make. Let me know if you want to see a video down below in the comments, and like this video if you find it very helpful. Let me know what else would you like to know, any questions. I will be reading all of your comments, and thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, bye.